How's it going, Yankee fans? Welcome back to Fireside Yankees with Alex and Ryan. Hope you guys are having a great start to your Friday. It's Valentine's Day, so the vibes are proper if you are Marcus Stroman, who is firing at reporters as we speak about his role with the team. And he showed up this morning, said he had a good conversation with Booney, and then someone asked him if he was going to be a relief pitcher. He was the sixth man in the rotation. What's his role? And he said, I am a starter. I am not going to the bullpen. And I don't disagree with him. I think that he shouldn't be a bullpen arm, similar to you, Ryan. He makes 30 starts a year. He's pretty healthy. And, there is still some value to him just eating innings. And out of the bullpen is not really the most effective option that you could put out there. You want like high impact, like guys that can step in and have really great above average pitches, or at least one immediately. He doesn't have any of those things anymore. He doesn't have any elite pitches anymore. So you're really just using him for longevity and trying to keep other starters healthy. That's kind of his role at this point in time. But it does not seem as though the Yankees want him to be playing for them based on what we've heard from Cashman, what we've heard from other guys this offseason. And Stroman, he said, given the climate, that's why he stayed away the first couple days. The climate in Tampa is great. It's the climate in the Yankee clubhouse, or really where they're trying to go with him, the trade rumors, this, that. Clearly, there's something going on behind the scenes that they're trying to move him, but we know this already. It's more so, can they find a partner to move him? And I think that that's kind of where the Yankees are running into some issues, because he's not worth the money, and nobody probably wants to give them $10 million for him. So I don't really see a trade partner coming out of the woods here. So we'll keep you guys updated on that information and that kind of situation unfolding in real time. But we want to discuss today another option. Ryan's mentioned his name a couple times. He really likes him, and why the Yankees, instead of going the Nolan Arenado route, may elect to go for an option like Willie Castro of the Minnesota Twins if they're willing to offload him. Now, Castro's only 27 years old. We're talking about a guy that has a year left of arbitration control. So, he has this season. He's a free agent in 2026. So that year of control, that's kind of where we look to see, can we get value from a guy like Willie Castro? Before we dive into his stats, though, Ryan, how do you do today, my friend?
I'm doing all right, hanging in there, having, an interesting morning, a very fast-paced morning, and then you see the comments from Marcus Stroman, and that obviously, adds a little bit of flair to what today's going to be in Yankee talking circles. And look, I get it, I think the comments of I'm a starter, it's obviously going to rub people the wrong way, but at the end of the day, he is a major league starter. He is a professional athlete. He's going to voice his opinion. That's how he feels. Doesn't want to pitch out the bullpen. Is what it is, right? Is what it is. I wonder how this situation is going to evolve, how it's going to develop. If we're being honest, Alex, the possibility of someone getting hurt before the Yankees can find a trade partner is still very real. So I'm not of the opinion that this is a scenario that has to end poorly. I think this could be a scenario that ends up being, malleable or mendable or fixable. I'm not at the point where I'm like, all right, this is an embarrassment. Sherman's embarrassing the organization. The Yankees are embarrassing themselves. Like, it's an awkward situation. It's a player they've publicly tried to trade. It's a player who probably wants to get traded at this point in time. And they're just trying to handle this the best they can. I'm not sure we can remember a last time with the Yankees where there was an organization who wanted to trade the player and a player who wanted to get traded in camp with this much media access. The last time I could think of that was like the Yankees wanting to move off of J. Happ's money in 2020, but the team had enough injuries by the time they came back from the COVID shutdown that he was in the rotation, and the Yankees were not entertaining trade talks for J. Happ unless they got something incredible back. So this is unique for the Yankees, and I just want to provide that context of this is a weird situation, an awkward situation, kind of an uncommon situation in baseball where both player and organization understand that a trade is the preferred outcome for both of the parties, and that at the same time, there's still that window for that player to have a role on this team and maybe be satisfied with their role on this team and not want to trade. As it pertains to the infield, though, Willie Castro, that report came out yesterday from Brendan Cuddy regarding the Yankees not being willing to make a significant move at third base until they move Marcus Stroman's money, or at least a portion of that money. I do wonder if someone like Willie Castro is more attractive to the Yankees because he's only a $6.4 million arbitration hit on your luxury tax because of his arbitration money. If the Yankees are able to move Marcus Stroman and offload, let's say, $8 million or $9 million and then bring in Willie Castro, they'll actually be around $302 million. They'll actually lower their luxury tax hit, and there's not really a need for the team to bring in an extra reliever, sign another player to a major league deal. I doubt they're going to do that. I doubt they need to do that. So I think we're at the point where the Yankees could, maybe pull off that trade for Strowman or that trade of Strowman, and then eventually land an infielder. And if it's Castro, I'd be really happy with it because I think he's a strong defender at third base, plus 2 outs above average and plus 1 DRS there. He is a historically pretty good base runner, plus 6.9 base running runs on Fangraphs in his major league career. And over the last 2 years, he has a 108 WRC plus in each of the last 2 seasons. So, at the end of the day, he's an above average hitter, or has been over the last 2 years. He provides good defense at third base, and he's a good base runner. That checks all my boxes off. It fits the Yankees team identity well, and it would strengthen a strength defensively, strengthen a strength on the base paths, and finally give them someone who can hit a little bit at third base. The thing I'd also like to add here, Alex, is that the closer we get to spring training, the more likely it is that guys who are expected to sign major league deals sign minor league deals. I wonder if someone like a Brendan Rodgers, who hits lefties, while Castro's a switch hitter who hits righties primarily, I wonder if those two could be a match as a trade acquisition and then a minor league free agent signing to bolster the depth of this bench and bolster the starting lineup. Because even if the Yankees acquire Willie Castro, 1 injury puts Oswaldo Cabrera in the starting lineup, and 2 injuries put DJ LeMahieu in the starting lineup. If 2 injuries push Brendan Rodgers to the starting lineup, or 1 injury puts the Yankees in a situation where they're platooning Cabrera and Rodgers, they'll still be getting production at whatever position those 2 guys are platooning at because they're able to hit righties and or lefties. So overall, I think the Yankees should bring in 2 infielders. I think that could happen after they move Strowman. And in regards to Strowman, I think it's an evolving situation where you have 2 parties who clearly don't want him to be here on opening day. That would not be an ideal situation for the Yankees.
It certainly wouldn't be. But looking at Willie Castro, Ryan, is it concerning to you that he's not much of a slugger? Like, do you want? I mean, he can steal some bags for you. Good defensive player. He can get on base at, slightly above a 33% clip and, solid batting average. But do you think that there's a lack of slugging there? Do you want, like, preferably to get somebody? Would you be more willing to be patient to see if somebody else arises, over the next couple of months, instead of maybe having to send a decent prospect for Willie Castro? Do you think you want to be more aggressive to get a guy like this, or wait and try to get a better quality player down the stretch, even if it means waiting until the deadline over the summer?
Yeah, I think it's a really good question to ask if Castro's the kind of guy that, like, all right, if it's paying an uncomfortable amount in a trade for Castro or not, do you make that move? I think that's a great question. I think you could argue either way, given how desperate they are in the infield. But I would like Castro, even though he isn't much of a power hitter, because the power does play at Yankee Stadium. If he played all of his home games at Yankee Stadium, he would have added an additional 5 home runs to his season total. That would have pushed it up to 17. And I think you and I would take 15 or more home runs. Let's say the number is 15. I think you and I would take 15 home runs from third base in 2025. The Yankees are going to get home runs. They're going to hit a lot of home runs this year. Judge hits home runs. Even when Stanton isn't going, he hits home runs. Bellinger, even in his down years, was hitting home runs. Goldschmidt last year played and had his worst year ever as a big leaguer, and he hit home runs. Yankee Stadium is a ballpark where the ball flies, where home runs are more frequent than most other ballparks. The Yankees are going to hit home runs. I fully believe the Yankees will hit the long ball. I think they'll be able to hit 200-plus home runs this year. Even in the years where they have struggled offensively, you look at 2023, 2021, they've still been the kind of team that can take the ball out of the yard. The 2023 Yankees were 9th in home runs at 219. The 2021 Yankees were 6th in home runs with 222. And again, these are teams that were not very good offensively. I'm going to even point back to a team like the 2016 Yankees, where that's probably the last time they haven't been a power offense. They were 19th in home runs at 183. That's almost a decade ago. And that was a completely different roster composition than the one the Yankees have today. So even if Paul Goldschmidt isn't going right, Alex, I expect him to hit 20-plus home runs if he plays the full season. If Ben Rice plays, I expect him to provide some home runs. If Stanton plays 120 games, I expect him to hit close to 30 home runs. So at the end of the day, I think that they can make up the power at other positions, and Castro can just provide a little bit of power, a little bit of hit, a little bit of defense, some on-base skills. I think his OBP settles around that 320 to 330 range. I think the Yankees would take that. and add some more to the base paths too, because he stole 33 bases in 2023. That number went down in 2024. He was a negative base runner in 2024. It seems to have just been like he got caught stealing a lot of times early in the season and then was deterred from attempting more stolen bases. If he gets off to a better base running start, maybe he steals 20 bases in 25 attempts this season instead of being caught 9 times in 23 attempts this year. If we see that kind of distribution, he's going to be a premium base runner, and it's only going to add to what the Yankees have. And you start looking at that lineup, if Dominguez is leading off, which seems to be the trend there. Like, I don't know about you, Alex, and we talked about the lineup construction, but it kind of feels like Boone's almost leading in that direction, because he's talked up Jason Dominguez as leadoff hitter often, although he has mentioned that role is not, like, the leadoff spot for someone is not going to be the only spot they hit in. He will move guys around depending on the matchups, which I think is a good idea. But if Dominguez is hitting first, Judge is hitting second, Jazz hitting third, Stan's hitting fourth, Wells or Bellinger are hitting fifth. I would actually hit Wells and Bellinger back to back, because Bellinger can hit left-handed pitching, at least against righties, and then hit Goldschmidt seventh, Castro eighth, and Volpe ninth. If a lefty's on the mound, then I'll keep Bellinger fifth, I'll put Goldschmidt six, I'll put Wells seven, I'll put Castro eight, and I'll put Volpe nine. That would be the ideal scenario. But that's where, like, a Brendan Rodgers, like I mentioned, that's where he could be valuable, because then you look at the bottom of that lineup and you go, not a lot of offense against left-handed pitching outside of maybe Volpe. Could we throw in a Brendan Rodgers, get him in the game occasionally instead of Willie Castro? That's going to win you ball games, folks. That right there will win you baseball games. And I really get frustrated when I hear people, like, kind of poo-poo the idea of having depth on your bench or having a platoon or even opening the conversation to a platoon. If the Yankees have a starting caliber third baseman and then they supplement that starting caliber third baseman and kind of the shakiness of their bat with someone who hits the other side of the mound really well, and that's lefties, something that Castro doesn't really do, this team could win a lot of ball games. And for me at least, I think third base, look at it as, I just want production. Yesterday was, I thought, an embarrassment on social media in regards to, like, a lot of people going, like, because there's that picture of those Yankees baseball ops people that was going around, and they're like, I bet they're thinking that they could, like, analytic nerd their way to getting 2 or 3 WAR from third base. Like, first and foremost, as a random people, like, you have no idea what they do in the organization, and it's beyond messed up to be posting those pictures and being like, all those guys are ugly. They know way more ball than anyone on social media, anyone without their faces on social media as well. And number 2, if the Yankees get 2.5 to 3 WAR out of third base, that's a win, man. That's a win. The Yankees are not going to get 2.5 to 3 WAR out of third base as currently constructed. Alex, is the over-under on DJ LeMahieu's WAR, where would you set it at? Because I think I'm at 0. Is it 0? Is that fair to say?
Yeah, based on what he's done. He hasn't, I read something this morning. DJ LeMahieu hasn't appeared in a playoff game since 2020.
Are you serious?
Isn't that, yeah, he's been injured.
Andrew Velasquez has appeared in one since then, right?
Yeah, Gio Urshela has appeared in one for the Yankees. Joey Gallo has.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. So,
Rougned Odor. Rougned Odor played in 21. Yeah.
We're talking about, dude, even John Birdie has played one for us.
Yeah.
Like, we're talking about, it's been 5 years since DJ LeMahieu's played a postseason game for the Yankees. This is a major problem.
Yeah.
And listen, yeah, the benchmark is 0. Regarding the people posting online pictures of people behind the Yankees, whatever, in their analytics room, I don't know what it was, whoever those people were. Only Yankee fans could find a way to bitch about the team having just got to a World Series.
I don't even think it's bad to complain.
Have some gratitude for the fact that other teams will never even sniff a World Series, and we have a chance to go right back. And they're not done. They're gonna make another move. It's just a matter of being patient. It will happen, guys. It will happen. We're talking about options here, but just have some gratitude, guys. We just went to World Series. At least we're competitive. Those people help us get there with those types of decisions.
Yeah, also I want to mention that those guys don't work in the front. They don't work. They're not the GM of the team. They can't make final decisions. This idea that they were like, yo, please do not get Juan Soto. Please do not sign. No one has any idea what role they have in the organization. And the reason I was bringing that up was mainly because, number one, that's effed up. And number two, they're probably scheming ways to nerd their way to getting wins above replacements. Yeah, I hope they are. I hope that their entire game plan right now is figuring out ways creatively to get WAR or value out of third base. If you don't like WAR, which that's a whole other conversation, Just think of it as value. How do we get the most value we can at third base? And I do think there is a way to do it by having a guy like Castro, who can hit right-handed pitching, and he is a switch hitter, and can play short, and can play third, and I don't really want him to play the outfield, but he can play the outfield if absolutely necessary, and have him hit against right-handed pitching, and then bring someone in who can hit left-handed pitching, and boom, I've got a beautiful platoon there, and Cabrera can fill in that Castro role if something happens to Castro. Or if something happens to Jazz Chisholm or Anthony Volpe, Cabrera can play those two positions, and Rogers can facilitate those matchups against left-handed pitching. That is how you build a good roster, folks. That's how you get good production. You're prepared for injuries. You've got the starting pieces in place, and you can play to matchups. How many times last year, Alex, did the Yankees have a guy that could bring off the bench to get a big hit? Never. At no point during the season did you feel comfortable bringing someone off the bench to get a big hit. And then if you bring in Ben Rice as your backup catcher, well, then I've got a bat for righties, I've got a bat for lefties, I've got Cabrera who can play all over, and I've got Grisham who can play all over. So the outfield, that being. Boom. That's a useful bench right there. Ben Rice, catcher in first. Cabrera, wherever a baseball player can play baseball, Cabrera has played baseball there. Trent Grisham, great defender in all three outfield spots. And then a guy like Brendan Rodgers, bring him off the bench against a tough lefty. That's how you build your bench, right? And I know that, that requires jettisoning in DJ LeMahieu, who's, again, his over-under on WAR should be 0, zilch. Cabrera's over-under on WAR is probably going to be around 0.5 to 1. I think that's roughly where I would have it at. So, I just mentioned the infield, and I talk about the infield, and I talk about how people kind of talk about the team sometimes, because it's just frustrating to hear people kind of go like, well, if they don't get Nolan Arenado, that means you don't want anyone else. It's like, no, I just think it's a bad decision. I think it's a bad decision to pay Nolan Arenado that money. I think it's a bad decision to go get Luis Arraez and not really have a plan for him defensively. I think that's a bad decision. I think that's being short-sighted. I think that's being attracted or alerted to a name instead of production. I care about value. I care about nothing other than producing value and getting the most I can out of a third baseman, or getting the most I can out of a position group. And right now, I feel good about first, feel good about center, feel good about right, feel good about left, feel good about short, feel good about second, feel good about catcher, feel good about the rotation, feel phenomenal about the bullpen. It doesn't matter how many guys go down. They're going to have relievers. They're going to have talent there. I just don't feel good about third base. And if they can get the talent necessary on this roster to make me feel good about third base, Alex, I'll feel good about Arch. I'll be like, we should go to the World Series. We should win 95-plus games. We should be a more complete team than last year.
Yeah, I mean, theoretically, yes, we should be. And I think one thing that a lot of people get concerned about, or really caught up in, is past production and not projecting what they're going to do this upcoming season, right? Like, people love Nolan Arenado for what he did 3 years ago. Not what he's doing today. Even his defensive efficiency has declined in that time. Not to mention, offensively, the slugging rate has plummeted. You really want to test that, that decline in the third straight year of it. It's a risk. It's a gamble, especially at that price tag. So, I do think that it's about projecting what's to come and not looking 3 years ago to see if you can get, like, it is much more likely that you can project what's going to happen next season than hope that an older player is going to turn back the clock 3 seasons to their MVP form or their all-star form. Goldschmidt is the only one the Yankees took a chance on regarding that, right? Nobody else that they signed is that old and that much in decline. Fried's not. Bellinger's not. Bellinger's 29. Devin Williams is not, right? Goldschmidt is the guy. If you wanted to go and get a guy that you're hoping can turn back the clock and give you a little bit of better value, Goldschmidt is the guy that they went with in that regard. You don't want to have 2 guys on your team because they already have Stanton too, or you're hoping can turn back the clock even more. Like, you don't want to go down the path of relying on several guys who have been steep declining for several seasons and hoping that they can turn back the clock. Like, maybe one of those guys it happens to them, not 3. It's not going to happen to 3 guys. Probably not even 2. Maybe 1 if you're lucky. That they see some sort of resurgence and a change of scenery. I don't want to add another element to the mix. I think you have to go younger. You have to go with control. You have to go with... I mean, look, we know this for a fact, Ryan. Unless the Cardinals kick in a stupendous amount of money or they're able to offload Strowman in an Arenado deal, it's not happening, right? Like, they do not want to take on that money. It is obvious. Whoever they get is going to cost pennies, right? Whoever they get is going to be in arbitration or in the final year of arbitration, and they're not going to be making more than probably $7 or $8 million. That's how I personally see it. So look for players in that range. And that's Willie Castro, $6.4 million this upcoming season in his final year of arbitration. So he fits in that margin. And look, there's a lot of ways to win baseball games, as you said, Ryan. Good defense, good base running, hitting against specific pitchers. These are all things that, you think about. And, when it comes down to it, it is a numbers game at the end of the day. But obviously, you want well-rounded, balanced players. So we'll see how the Yankees go about this. But I have no doubt in my mind they will be getting somebody. It's just a matter of who and when. And they don't have any rush. Like, spring training just started 2 days ago. There's no rush to make this move. I think they will make it. Just a matter of, we'll see what they can get. Well, they have to give up to get a upgrade there, a pretty substantial one over what we have internally right now. But guys, always happy to hear your thoughts down below in the YouTube comments. Make sure to like and subscribe. As always, if there's any more spring training news, I might be back on the channel later for a solo video to get you guys updated. But happy to hear your thoughts down below as always. Make sure to drop a 5-star review on Apple and Spotify. And we'll catch you guys on the next Fireside Yankees episode.
Perfect.